All right, so we're going to add our third sheet here. So I'm actually going to change this to be one of three because we're going to add our assembly view. This is our second one we did, which is our top-down drawing. So this is sheet 2 of 3, and then we're going to use our grid paper again for this one to get our assembly drawing. So I'm going to actually just put that at the top here real quick. So this is our assembly. And this is just going to give us an idea with some notes of like, what are we talking about here to actually build this? So I'm going to have a top-down view of this to start. So I'm going to start in this corner, and I know I need to go down 11 inches. So let me put my scale in the corner. I'm going to put it in this corner here so that we have it. So this normally, if it was using the 1/4 inch grid, would be an inch, but we're going to call that half. That's an inch there. So this is 1/2 inch, this is 1 inch, and then this whole thing, 4 of them, is our 2 inches. And then I'm going to carry that across and just draw a rough scale bar in the corner so we have it. All right, so I need to be 11 inches long, which is 22 boxes, so let me get that. So there's my 22. And then I need to be 7 across total, so I'm going to go 14. And connect that. All right, so that's the base of my shooting board. And what I'm going to do now is I need to go my 5 inches, so that's 10. All right. Now, we have to imagine as I'm looking down on this from the top, so if this is my shooting board, I'm looking just straight down on it, there's no depth to this, so I'm just basically get this line in here. And then across the top here, it is 1 3/4, so 1, 2 would be 4 inches, and I'm going to take away half of that. So 1, 2, 3, 4 would be 2 inches. And then half of that would be my 3/4. So I'm just going to estimate that as best I can. That doesn't have to be super precise for what we're doing. Again, there's different tools. If we had a scale, we can make this exact. All right. So we want to actually, as we're doing this, I'm left-handed, which means this is set up for a left-handed person. It's on the left side. So I'm actually going to make note of that because this orientation would not work as well for a right-handed person. So I'm going to say on this side, something like note, this is my left-handed setup. And then we could add to that if we wanted. You flip it. Basically, we just take this and flip it over to that side if we want it to be the other way. All right, so what I want to do now is call out some of my center lines. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's this center line here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The way that we can have a center line, there's different styles, but basically I'm going to put a very light line here, and I'm going to put a CL kind of together like that for my center line. I'm going to carry that all the way up through there. All right, and I'm going to have 2 screws here. So these screws, again, we're working on our measurement and our precision. So we have this one is at 2 inches and the other one is at 6 inches on that center line. So I'm going to go up 2 inches, which I know is 4 boxes. There's that one, and then I'm going to go up 6 inches, which is going to be 3 of these. So that's 12. Of course, I put it right in the middle of that mark, so I'm going to move that. Put my center line mark down there. All right, and then I'm just going to sketch a circle. We could use a template, but really what I want to do here is I'm going to now draw a call out to this. So I'm going to have a line that comes out and then comes across. And what this is going to tell me is basically what I do here. So this is going to be a countersunk screw. We're not going to worry too much about the length of the screw or the type because that's going to vary by how, but we see this countersink part that screw actually sits in this divot using this countersink bit so that it's flush on top and we don't hit it. So that's a countersink screw, and then I'm actually going to do that up here as well and put an arrow to that so that we have those there. And then on this one we have on our center line, so we're going to take half of that. So this is going to be, that would be my 2 would be right there, and then a little bit less of that we're going to just estimate as best we can here. So my center line there, going across, and then these I believe are 1 inch from the side. Oops. No, they're 1 1/4, so just to make it a little bit more confusing for us. So 1 inch would be 2 of these, and then 1 1/2, so 1 1/4 is right about there. And then 1 1/4 is right about there, and then we have one in the middle as well. So I'm going to again just sketch my circles here. And then I'm going to call out that dimension because that dimension is not something that I can actually see very easily. So I'm going to call out this dimension from here to here is 1 3/4 inch. Sorry, it was this dimension. So I'm going to come up from there. And I'm going to go across. So this is my center line. This is 1 3/4 inch. Right? This is my center line. And then it's the same on this side. These ones down here, I could use my scale, but I'm actually going to call them out as well. So one way we can do that is I can have my larger dimension here. So that is my 6 inches. And then I'm going to have just inside of that my smaller dimension, which is 2 inches. So that helps me kind of lay out those pieces. All right, now what we don't see here is the bottom. And so there's a couple ways I can do that. I could draw a whole nother, we should actually label this view, right? This is our top view. And so I could, if I wanted to be a little bit lazy, is I could say that it's there, right? So I could basically draw a line and say something like install bottom. And I'm going to say similar to my saw guide. And the saw guide is this here, so we should even label that now. So if I'm going to do that, I'm going to draw a line to it. This is my saw guide. And then the thing that's missing here is glue. All right, so these pieces are glued, so we are going to use glue. And I'll just say glue surfaces. This one, because we might need to adjust this down the road if it comes out a square, then we're just going to screw that one on there. And so the other thing that we need to actually ensure is this is going to be our we need to make sure, so I'm just going to put a box in here that symbolizes our 90 degrees, right? And then I'm going to put 90 degrees in there, just so we know that that has got to be 90 and that this over here also has to be 90 degrees. And I'm even going to call it out because it is really critical for this to work. So I'm going to say that ensure (90 degree), and then I'm going to draw that on both of them. And down in the corner here, I'm going to say this is 3 of 3. So we have some assembly, we have the idea of it. Again, we just need to get a drawing that is close enough so you can actually get an idea what this thing is. So now we put this all together. I have my isometric drawing, my overview. I have basically my dimensions. This is my parts list. And so maybe we want to go back and label this as our parts list. And then I have my assembly, which gives me some details on how do I actually draw this. So what we've done is we've taken this whole thing, right? We've created our drawing, and now we actually are going to be able to build it.